Hey everyone, we're just going to give everyone a second to log in and then we're going to get started. All right. Well, good morning or good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar, co-hosted by the Oracle Enterprise Management Product Management Team and the New York Oracle User Group and Oracle partner Viscosity North America. We've got an awesome presenter for us today from this Oracle team. We're so excited to be doing this series with them. So if this is your first one with Oracle Product Management and NYOUG and Viscosity, welcome. And if not, we still have so many more coming out. So keep stay in tune with our upcoming webinar series with the Oracle Enterprise Management Product Team. So wanting to give you guys a little bit of some house rules here. It is a live webinar. You do have access after the webinar to the slide deck, any materials today's speaker wants to give you, as well as a recording. So do not fear if you've got to drop off, if you join late, whatever it may be. NYOUG and Viscosity will both send you guys information afterwards on how to access everything. So before we get started, I'm going to let Rob from NYOUG tell you guys a little bit about their organization, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about Viscosity.
Okay, thank you, Monica. I'm Rob Edwards. I'm treasurer with the New York Oracle Users Group. NYOUG was formed in 1984 for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users of Oracle software products. We can be found on Twitter, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook, and on our own website, nyoug.org. Monica?
Thank you so much, Rob. And then I'm going to try to make this quick for Viscosity slides. Hopefully you guys are familiar with Viscosity. We are an Oracle partner and service provider integration team, whatever you need, we're pretty much there. As you can see on this slide, this is the three pillars that Viscosity is built upon. So data, apps, and cloud. If you see anything here that interests you, please let me know. I'm the director of operations and marketing here at Viscosity, but I'm happy to put you in touch with the people you may need for any consultation or even just resources that you may be curious about. We can help you out there. This slide right here just shows some of our executive management and our managing principal consultants. Hopefully you recognize some of them. They're all part of the ACE program, and they're actually all here in Dallas where our HQ is. They're here for a conference called Blueprint 4D, formerly known as Collaborate. So if you're familiar with that, hopefully you've seen these guys because they've been presenting for a long time. We've actually got a book signing with a couple of them today. As well as, gosh, I think they have over 10 collective sessions between yesterday and today. That's only half the conference. But yeah, great amount of knowledge within Viscosity. I always love to highlight those guys. There's books from them, blogs, they're always speaking, and they're also the people helping our clients. On this slide, I just want to show one bubble here I like to point out all the time, Oracle License Management. It's one of the things I recommend all the time to users like you guys. If you have a partner you work with, or if you need a partner to work with, people like Viscosity and other partners, they'll just help you make sure you get what you need and you're paying for what you need and you're getting the best rates possible. It's always nice to have a little helping hand. It's something we do so often that I know it makes a kind of tedious, overwhelming process a lot easier. So if you've got a partner you work with, I hope you use them for all of these things here. And if not, I'm always happy to help you guys out as well. Okay, this page is some of our books. I just want to highlight a couple of brand new ones from us. Oracle Database Performance Tuning, upgrading Oracle databases. And then this one, Oracle on Docker, also just came out recently. Today, we're going to be giving out upgrading Oracle databases for free at the conference while supplies last. So I don't know if anyone's here in Dallas this week for that conference, but if so, you can find us at the Quest booth. Okay, we're almost there. So orapub.com is now powered by Viscosity. If you're not familiar with Orapub, it's been around for a long time. It was built by a former Oracle employee, and it's where he housed tons of resources, white papers, things like that. And eventually it became its own training website. So it's formed by Oracle ACE Director Craig Shallyhammer, now part of the Viscosity team. And it's where we host a ton of live training. We've got recordings to every training session ever, webinars like this, slide decks, everything the guys present at user group conferences and worldwide conferences like this week. They are all uploaded here, and you can actually join with a free membership. There are also some higher tiers you can pay for and get a little extra out of it. But if not, definitely sign up for a free one. And this is where you'll access today's webinar as well as NYOUG.org. And otherwise, you can follow us at events@viscosityna.com on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and it'll just keep you up to date with all the things we have coming up. And again, if you're here, we are at Blueprint. We've got tons of sessions. So if you're not at Blueprint, you can also go see the slide decks at the least on orapub.com. All right, and then one more conference we'll be at in June is ODTUG Kscope. So we hope to see you guys around, and if not, we'll see you here online with all of our awesome presenters. I'm going to turn it back over to Rob, and he's going to introduce Desiree to us. And again, if you're joining us late, yes, it's recorded. Yes, you'll get slide decks. We'll send you all that information afterwards. All right, take it over, Rob.
Thank you, Monica. Desiree is a product manager in the Enterprise and Cloud Manageability organization at Oracle Corporation. She currently focuses on the monitoring space of Enterprise Manager. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from the University of Maryland, College Park. Desiree.
Thanks for the intro, Rob. Can everyone hear me?
Sounds great. Also, sorry, real fast, everyone, please take advantage of Desiree and her team. She's got Anna here who's going to be helping manage Q&A. So this is your time to get those answers to all your questions. So they've got the Q&A box popped up and they can get to you as they can. And Desiree will also go over more questions at the end if needed. So.
Thank you. So let me just get started. Is my slide sharing?
Yep, looks great.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So hi, and welcome to today's session, Reduce Event Noise with Event Compression and Enterprise Manager. As Rob said, my name is Desiree Abrokwa, and I am a product manager at Oracle, and I work on the monitoring space of Enterprise Manager. So some of you may already be familiar with Enterprise Manager, and some of you may not be so familiar. So I'm going to give an overview for context before we begin the session. Enterprise Manager is an Oracle management tool to manage and monitor your deployments or targets. And here are some of the key highlights of EM. There is hybrid cloud management. So this means the ability to monitor and manage your deployments in the cloud or on premises. Ops automation, which is the enhanced automation and modernization of key management tasks. And extensibility, which involves integration of Enterprise Manager with third-party tools. Now let's get right into the background for this event compression session. IT teams are often overwhelmed with the volume of events in their IT environment, which can then overwhelm the staff and delay resolving issues. So often these events could be symptoms of the same underlying problem anyways. Event compression is a process of grouping related events into a smaller subset of actionable incidents, and this is a way to help reduce the volume of events that you are receiving. In Enterprise Manager, we first introduced rule-based event compression to help address this ongoing issue and to make your events and incidents easier to manage. And in Enterprise Manager 13.5, we enhanced our event compression and introduced event compression policies as well. So here is the agenda for today's session. We're first going to cover the 2 event compression options in Enterprise Manager, and then we will go over how to create your own event compression policy, which is known as a user-defined event compression policy. And then we will discuss testing your policies using an event compression analysis. So throughout the session, I'm going to give an overview of each of these features and then display how to use them. To begin, let's start with event compression. For this item, I'm going to be showing the 2 types of event compression in Enterprise Manager, the rule-based event compression and the newer and enhanced event compression policies. Please note that at Oracle, we recommend to use the event compression policies feature. Let's do a quick overview of the difference between the 2 event compression options in EM. Like the name, rule-based event compression is rule-based, meaning users have to define an event compression policy directly within a rule, and it is only specific to that one rule. So if you wanted to create the same policy for another rule, you have to redefine it within the other rule definition. With event compression policies, these are global, meaning they apply to all incident creating rules. You only have to define the policy once in the event compression policies page, and then once it is enabled and an incident is being created, EM will match the corresponding global policy to the incident that is in the process of creation. Rule-based event compression was the first method of event compression introduced in EM. The premise of rule-based event compression is that it has to be completed in individual rules. For reference, in Enterprise Manager, incident and event rules are used to specify criteria and actions that should be taken whenever an incident or event is raised. Rule-based event compression is typically implemented in 2 steps. So the first step is to create an event rule that compresses related events into a single incident. And the second step is to create an incident rule to send a notification, which can be in the form of an email, ticket, and more when an incident is created. There are also existing out-of-the-box incident rules that automatically group related events into single incidents for you in EM. For example, the out-of-box rules cover target down events for rack database instances, metric collection errors for a target, and configuration standard violations for a rule on a target. Let's review how to use the rule-based event compression in EM. First, you have to navigate to incident rules. Here in the image, you can see that you first select the setup menu option, hover over incidents, then land on incident rules. This takes you to the incident rules page that is displayed on the screen. To create a rule set, select the Create Rule Set button. A new screen appears where you can begin the process of creating your rule set. First, specify a name and description for the rule set. For this example, I named the rule set compression rule set. Also, I want to create a rule-based compression for target down events on a target, so I labeled the description as compressed target down events from the same host. Next, select the targets to apply to. In my case, I selected to apply to a specific group of targets. After specifying the name of the rule set and the targets the rule set applies to, then we can start the actual rule creating process by selecting the Create button under the Rules section. A pop-up will appear with options on what the rule would apply to. So select incoming events and updates to events. In the next screen, select the type of events that you're interested in focusing on. I am interested in target availability, specifically target down events. So in this example, you can see I specified the event type, which is target availability. Then I further distinguished in the bottom image that the availability state that I was interested in was for the target has gone down state. Next step, you can specify actions that you want the rule to complete on the events you selected. To do so, select the Add button. Here is the Add Actions page where you will specify the rule-based event compression. Notice once you select that you want to create an incident for the event, then you have 3 options to create an incident. For the rule-based event compression, you must select the last radio button for compress events into an incident. The bottom options appear once you do so. In the first section, you can specify how the events are compressed by. For example, they can be compressed based on target, category, or event name. I selected to compress by targets, specifically the option events are from targets on the same host. Next, you can specify a time window. This time window indicates the time range for compression to apply. For example, the time window of 1 hour means that if multiple related events occurred within 1 hour of each other, then they will be compressed into one incident. Last is a message that will appear for the incident created by compressed events. There is both a non-clear incident and cleared incident message that appear. Based on your selection to the previous event compression criteria, EM automatically pre-populates these messages for you. However, you may modify them as you desire to satisfy your requirements. These messages have placeholder values that are updated to the corresponding attribute once an actual incident is created. So for example, the event count placeholder shown in the image would be updated to the number of events in an incident once the incident is actually created. Now that the add actions has been specified, it can be saved and will appear in the add actions list. Here in the action summary, you can see that we specified to create an incident and compress incidents by events that are from the same host that have a time window of 1 hour. Next, specify a name and description for this individual rule set that you're creating. Based on the compression that we specified, I am naming the rule compress target down events from the same host, and you can also add an optional description. Click next to continue to the review session. Here is the overview of the rule that we are creating. First, you can see that we selected events for all target types with the target down availability. Then in the actions section, you can see that we chose to create an incident for these events and compress incidents by events from the same host in a 1 hour window. So once you have reviewed the event rule created, you can continue and save the rule set. Here, the rule set has been saved, and you can see that it now appears in the incidents rules page. This indicates that rule-based event compression has been completed. But note, for rule-based event compression, we recommend also creating an incident rule to send a notification when an incident is created. So generally, your final incident rule set would have 2 rules. The one event rule for the compression, which is what I covered, and then another one for incident rule to send a notification for the incident. Now let's transition to our newest version of event compression. In Enterprise Manager 13.5 RU8, we introduced an enhanced version of event compression called event compression policies. An event compression policy states the conditions to group multiple events into one incident. For example, if you have a WebLogic cluster and all of its WebLogic servers, in other words, its members, go down, this would result in multiple and separate target down events for the WebLogic cluster and all its WebLogic servers. An event compression policy would group all of the target down events from the WebLogic cluster and its WebLogic servers into one incident if all the events occurred within a 5-minute time window. Event compression policies are global, which means they apply to all incident creating rules. During incident creation, the applicable policy will be located and applied before the incident is created. In Enterprise Manager, there are 7 Oracle-provided out-of-the-box policies readily available for users to use. These policies were created based on common scenarios for event compression. For new Enterprise Manager installations, these event compression policies are enabled out of the box. Users with specific privileges can disable or enable individual policies. And for upgraded EM sites, the event compression policies is auto-enabled for new rules. However, for any existing rule pre-upgrade, the user has to enable the policies on a per rule basis. This is intentionally done to prevent changes in pre-existing incident creation and notification behavior after updating to EM. Here is an example of incident creation without event compression policies. Here we have a rule set that applies to the prod group, and it contains one event rule that applies to all the target down availability events for targets in the group. And the action for these events is to create an incident. In the WebLogic cluster down scenario that I previously described, we would see 3 events, 1 per target, and these events would result in 3 separate incidents, 1 per event. Now let's look at this scenario with event compression policies. You will now see an option to use event compression policies next to the action to create an incident. If you check the option to use event compression policies, then when these events occur before an incident is created, EM will first try to find a policy that matches or is applicable to these events. And if found, we'll compress the events based on the policy, and this results into one incident with multiple events. Let's take a look at how this looks in the user interface. First, you have to navigate to the event compression policies page, and to do so, select setup, incident, and then event compression policies. You're taken to the event compression policies page, which is shown on the screen. And this is where we have a list of all the 7 out-of-the-box policies available, such as target down events for a cluster database and its members, and agent unreachable events for targets monitored by the same agent. Users can choose to enable or disable any of the out-of-box policies through the enabled toggle button. Note, event compression policies are evaluated from top down, with the top having the higher priority. So this means when an event rule tries to match to a policy before creating an incident, it will go through the list based on the order until it matches with the policy. So the top policies will be evaluated first. But let's take a deeper look into the policy for target availability events for the WebLogic cluster and its members. Once you click on the policy name, a page will appear, which is the details for how the events are compressed. For this policy, you can see that when target availability events for the WebLogic cluster and its members have a severity of critical or fatal within a 5-minute time span of one another, then the events from the WebLogic cluster and its members will compress into a single incident. The compression is based on events from the same ancestor target type, or in other words, parent target, which is the WebLogic cluster, and it adds the events from the parent target and from its children or member targets into a single incident. Additionally, the policy definition page shows the incident message that will appear based on this policy. There are 2 message options, one for the non-clear state of the incident, one for the clear state of the incident. So once again, the incident messages have placeholder variables that will be replaced with the corresponding information when an actual incident is created. And at the bottom is further information that shows the policy was created by Oracle, hence out of the box. Now let's head to incident rules to see how these out-of-the-box Oracle defined policies are enabled. So go to Setup, Incident, and Incident Rules. This is the incident rules page. The event compression policies and incident rules work hand in hand with one another. So to enable the out-of-the-box compression policies, first select the Create Rule Set button to create a new rule. Similar to the rule-based event compression, specify a name and description for the rule set and select the targets to apply to. select the create button to create a rule set for the rule, to create a rule for the rule set. A pop-up appears with options on what the rule will apply to. So once again, select incoming events and updates to events. In the next screen, select the type of events that you are interested in focusing on. Similar to the other example, I am interested in target availability, specifically target down events for all target types. So in this example, you can see I specified the event type, which is target availability. Then I further distinguish again in the bottom image that the availability state was for the target has gone down state. Next, here's where you can enable the event compression policy. In the add actions, you must select create incident, and by default, the use event compression policies option will be selected. Selecting this will then use the out-of-the-box policies I previously showed and match with one and compress related events into a single incident, such as the out-of-box policy for the WebLogic cluster target down example. For this example, we are assuming that the incident rule that I just showed enabled the event compression policies was completed and saved. Now let's take a look into how this is displayed in Incident Manager. Here's a view of the incident details. When you have an incident with compressed events, you will see all of these events contained in the incident, which is shown in the bottom of the screenshot. Here you can see the target down events for the WebLogic cluster and its members are compiled in the list. You can also click on the option to view the compression criteria that was applied to the events in this incident. In the pop-up, it describes the compression criteria that was used, and this incident was created using the WebLogic server related policy. Now that I've gone over event compression and the 2 ways to complete it in EM, let's transition into creating your own event compression policies. User-defined event compression policies allow users to author their own policies to apply to all incident creating rules. Let's say that the 7 out-of-the-box policies do not fit the use case of your events. Then this gives you the option to create your own policy that is more applicable to your IT environment and that will reduce your event noise. But please note, to create, update, or delete a user-defined event compression policy, you have to have the create business rule privilege. These user-defined policies can be published and can be used by other administrators. I will get into the full workflow of creating your own policy, testing it, and then publishing it for use. So to get to the policies, first navigate to Setup, Incident, and Event Compression Policies. Here you see the Event Compression Policies page. On this page, select the Create New Policy button on the top right of the page. From here, a blank compression policy will display where you can enter your custom policy definition. For the purpose of this session, I already filled out all the fields, so let's go one by one through the policy I defined. For context, this policy is related to coherence targets compression. First, you create a policy name and description. The name is coherence targets compression, and the description is compression for following targets: coherence cluster, node, cache. Next is the event compression logic. Notice in this field, it allows you to pre-populate your compression logic based on an existing event rule. We do not have an existing event rule yet for the coherence targets compression, so I do not have a rule to pre-populate the field. I do know that I'm interested in grouping target down events for coherence targets. Therefore, I added the event type as target availability, and the types of targets are the coherence cluster and its member targets, coherence cache, and coherence node that I want the compression to apply to. I then added fatal and critical event severity as further distinctions of how I want to compress these events. Next, I selected a time window of 45 minutes. Of course, you can adjust this time window into any amount that you like. After this, you have to determine how you will compress your incident. This is the whole basis of the event compression logic. The coherence cluster target is the parent to the coherence cache and node targets. Knowing this, I want to compress all these events into one incident based on the parent's target. Hence the selection of compressing by the same ancestor target type of Oracle coherence cluster. This logic essentially compresses all target down events from the coherence cluster, cache, and node targets with the fatal or critical severity into one incident if it falls within a 45-minute window. Last is the incident message field. Here, you can either use the default messages that are displayed, or you can modify the message and its variables to better suit your use case. Once this is complete, you can save the policy created using the button at the top right corner. Once the policy is saved, it will appear in the event compression policy page in a draft state and disabled. Before enabling and publishing the policy, you will want to test it out first to ensure that it accurately groups the events you are interested in. This is where the event compression analysis tool comes into play. With that, let's now transition into the event compression analysis part of the story. An event compression analysis is a tool that is intended to help users understand the benefit of event compression policies and also test their draft policies. This tool simulates event compression using a user's own events data. From this, it creates a visualization where users can compare the number of incidents in the past month without compression enabled versus the number of incidents that would have occurred in the past with event compression enabled. These analyses are on demand, so you can create them whenever you like. The draft user-defined policy was just created by us, so you must select the event compression analysis link to test out the draft policy on coherence targets compression. So here is the event compression analysis homepage. To begin, select the Start Analysis button. This is the pop-up that displays when starting an analysis. You will have to specify the target whose event you want to analyze and the time range, which goes up to a maximum of 31 days. For this example, we will be creating an analysis to assess the benefits of enabling the coherence targets compression policy that was just created. Also, please note the checkbox. You must select this to test out your draft user-defined policies before publishing them. Let's select the Start Analysis button to begin. After selecting Start Analysis, the Policy Analyzer page lists all the analyses that you ran. Here, you can track the progress of the analysis job for when it is in progress to when it is complete. There is also a View Job Details button that gives further information on the status of the policy job. To see the actual policy analysis, select the analysis name. In my case, it is the coherence target analysis. And now here's the analysis. From here, you can view how enabling event compression policies would have affected the number of incidents created for the selected time period for the coherence cluster target and its members. The top part of the screen provides a summary of the simulated compression, while the bottom graph provides further visualization of this compression. For example, in the image, 52 events occurred during the last 30 days. Without compression, 52 incidents would have been created. With compression, the number of incidents created was reduced to 47, a 9% reduction in the number of incidents. The compression ratio indicates the average number of events that were compressed for each incident, which is 1.11. In the graph below, the bars are color-coded to specify the number of incidents when event compression policies are used versus the number of incidents when event compression policies aren't. The navy blue represents without compression policies, and the orange represents with the compression policies. To further analyze how events and incidents are compressed on a specific date, you can click on the date's corresponding bars to see another visualization of the compression. In this visualization, you will see how events are mapped from incidents without compression policies to incidents with compression policies. The left side of the image are all the incidents that were created, and the right side shows how these incidents would be mapped into a smaller number of incidents. In the highlighted section, 6 incidents were initially created, but once the compression policy was used, the one that we just created, this turned into only 1 incident. This is a great tool to help you visualize the benefits of using event compression policies to reduce your volume of incidents and to also test out your user-defined policies. Now that we have seen the benefit of using the policy we created from the event compression analysis, let's go back to the event compression policies page to work on the user-defined policy. From the top menu bar, you can select setup, incidents, and event compression policies to go back. Let's go through the process of publishing the policy. You can select the actions button, and here are the actions that can be taken on a policy. You can edit the current policy when it is in the draft state and disabled. You can create like, which essentially clones the policy and allows you to modify the clone as a separate policy. You can publish the policy for use by other EM administrators. You can reorder your policy in the list so it has higher priority when being evaluated by an event rule. For user-defined event compression policies, they will always appear at the bottom of the policy list when created. However, you may change their order in the execution list. They can be placed anywhere above or below the out-of-the-box policies, but can't be placed between the out-of-the-box policies. And finally, you also have the option to delete your policy. We want to publish the policy, so we will be selecting the publish button. Now the policy is published, it can be used. Now that the policy is published, it can be used by other EM administrators with the corresponding privileges. But for it to be activated, you must also enable it for use using the toggle button. Now it has been enabled for use. However, we must create an event rule that uses compression policies so that it can now have the option to match to this policy that was just created and create a compressed incident. So go to setup, incident rules, and then we're back at the incident rules page. So select the create rule set button to create a new rule. This takes you to a page where you can begin the process of creating your rule set. First, specify a name and optional description for the rule set. In this example, I named the rule set Coherence Cluster Rule because I'm interested in events for coherence cluster targets. Next, select the targets that you want this rule set to be applied on. I am choosing coherence cluster and its related members, so the coherence cache and coherence node. After specifying the name of the rule set and the targets the rule set applies to, then we can start the actual rule creating process by selecting the create button under the rules section. A pop-up will appear with options on what the rule will apply to. Select incoming events and updates to events. So once again, a new screen appears where you can provide further details on your event rule definition. On the first step, you can select the type of events that you want to create a rule for. I'm interested in the coherence cluster again and its related targets. So I am selecting the event type as target availability for target down events for the target types, coherence cluster, coherence cache, and coherence node. Next step, you can specify actions that you want the rule to complete. So once again, click the add actions button. And here is where you can select the create incident option and use the event compression policies so that it can match with the policy that I just created. After specifying the add actions for the rule, then you can add a name and optional description for this rule you're creating. So for me, I put target availability for coherence targets. So let's review the rule that I just created. The events the rule will be applied to are target down events for the coherence targets. The actions will be taken will be to create an incident using the event compression policies. And the name of this rule is target availability for coherence targets. Once you save the rule, it will now appear in the incident rule section of the create rule set page. And since we have the single rule we are interested in, we can just save this rule set. We have finished creating the incident rule set that we want the user-defined event compression policy to apply to. The rule is now enabled, so it can use my policy to begin compression of coherence targets. Take a look at the View Event Compression Policies link. This is a shortcut that would take you back to the event compression policies page. So in this workflow, it showed how to create the user-defined policy, test it with the event compression analysis, and then create an incident rule set that will use the compression policy that I defined. In Enterprise Manager, you can reduce event noise using event compression, which is the process of grouping related events into a smaller set of actionable items. Once again, there are two types of event compression available in EM. The newest enhancement called event compression policies, which is Oracle recommended for compression. And then there is the existing rule-based event compression that was introduced first and still available for use. For the event compression policies, Oracle provides 7 out-of-the-box policies that can work with your incident rules. And however, if they don't match your use case, you can create your own compression policies. Lastly, we have an event compression analysis tool that allows you to test out any policies you create before publishing and enabling them for use. Here are additional resources. We have documentation that details event compression policies, also a short overview video that describes event compression. There's also an existing blog for the event compression policies method. And we constantly feature blogs about new EM features so that users are always aware of the latest enhancements. So you can check out these resources for more information. Thank you all for listening today. And here is my contact information if anyone wants to reach out to me directly through email. Thank you.
Hey, Desiree, we have a bunch of good questions from the chat. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So I think maybe I'll read out some of these questions because in case others haven't seen the Q&A, they'd be interested. So the first question is, what EM release are they expected to see these new event compression features?
So these new event compression features are already available. They were first introduced in EM 13.5 RU8, but we did add more enhancements to them. Like we introduced the event compression analysis tool and user-defined event compression, and these were introduced in later RUs. But for the earliest event compression out-of-the-box policies, that was introduced in EM 13.5 RU8, so it's already available.
Okay, cool. Next question, what about licensing? Is there a license requirement?
So this should be included, Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but this should be included in the base licensing?
It's part of, I'll take it. No, I'll take it.
Okay.
So it's part of the licensable monitoring features. So for those using Enterprise Manager's monitoring features, you may already know that there's a certain subset of features that do require licensing, a specific management pack, and the specific pack depends on the target type. So if you want to use this feature or other licensable monitoring features for a database, you would use the database diagnostics pack, right? So it's part of those set of licensable features.
Thank you.
Yep, sure. And then there's another question about using it with SNMP traps. If it's using SNMP traps to send to ServiceNow or another third party, will they be able to take advantage of the event compression feature?
Yeah, so this is something that we're currently working on. It hasn't been released, so that will be coming in the near future.
Yep, good question. Let's see. And I think you also mentioned the blogs, which is available. And I don't know if folks are familiar with, in our documentation, we also have, whenever we release a new release update in the Enterprise Manager documentation, we do have in our intro guide, what's new in this release. So there's both a kind of RU or release update focused a list of new features. So if you want to find out, hey, what's in RU7, RU8, RU, etc., you can look at it that way. or we also have a pivot by focus area. So if you want to find out, hey, what are all the new features that have been available or have been released in the monitoring space, for example, right? Then you can kind of get that, new features by focus area, and then also, see the list of features that way. So here, let me just add it. Desiree, I'm going to add it to the chat.
Okay, thank you.
You can show that as well. So just, for information, we talk about features that are coming soon. And if you're at RU or want to upgrade to an RU and haven't yet, you can always take a look at our doc as a source of information for, what's in this release or maybe prior releases as well, right? So check that out in addition to the blogs that Desiree mentioned, because we do try to, create blogs for some of, to highlight some of these features. Okay, I think, let me just go through the questions.
Can you
Are
see
there other
the screen?
questions?
Sorry,
I
is
can
it
see,
still
yeah.
sharing? Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
sharing
it's
the
still
link that
sharing,
you
yeah.
sent.
Yeah. And then
Okay,
if you want to
perfect.
click on monitoring, Desiree, yeah. Right. So this is the kind of the features by focus area. The one prior to this is the feature by RU update, our release update, right? So for example, here, this kind of consolidates all of the features related to the monitoring space. Oops, we lost it now.
Okay,
There
sorry.
you go. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you can see the user-defined event compression policies that she demoed. That's a RU 13 release. And then scroll down. I mean, there's a rich set of different features. Scroll down, Desiree, just to show them how they could use this. Event compression analysis, right? That's RU11. So that's when, this is the analysis that she showed. So if you're not in RU11 yet, that's when you would see that. And if you want to scroll down to when we released, where is that?
The
Oh, there you
initial
go.
event compression?
Yeah,
right here.
Yeah, exactly there. Yeah, right. So this is kind of a good, if you're not familiar with this section in our doc, this is a way for you to look at what the new features that we release by either the focus area orientation, or if you go to the new features by release update, it'll just summarize what's in this RU. So this is a good resource to have. Okay, let me see if there are other questions here. Okay, you're quite welcome to the presentation. I think we have a little bit more time. Does anyone have other questions?
And if you guys think of any questions, afterwards, please go ahead and respond back to either NYOUG or Viscosity, and we can forward your questions over to Desiree. She's got her email right here for you. So definitely got resources afterwards. But yeah, I hope everyone had a great time listening to this presentation. Desiree, thank you so much for your hour. I know that you guys are always super busy over there, product management at Oracle. We really appreciate you guys prioritizing user groups like NYOUG, and also just helping us get information into users' hands like this. It's great. And we hope you guys come back and present for us again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And of course, once again, if anyone has any further questions that you think of later, you can just contact me directly on my email, and then I can reach out to you. So thank you everyone for having me today.
Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rob and Coleman at NYOUG. And everyone, please be on the lookout for an email from either NYOUG or Viscosity. It'll be from either me or one of my colleagues, or Coleman or Rob. So take care. Thank you guys so much. Meet us back here for the next NYOUG Viscosity webinar, hopefully in this series with Desiree's team. And we'll see you then. Take care, everyone.